Hey, good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday night. For those of you who celebrated Rosh Hashanah this weekend, I hope you had a great holiday, happy and healthy new year, and that it is the start to only good things for everyone, whether you celebrated or you didn't celebrate. Hopefully, this is a new start and a change of tide and the change of times, because I think everybody could really use that, no matter how tough you've had it or how reflect on what this year has been, what next year could be, what we want to build for next year. But and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, like I said, in the post that I've written that's going to be going up with today's final as I cross everything, the last few things off on my 75-day challenge today. But I really wanted to talk, really about this weekend was tough. It was really hard for me, and in a lot of different ways. It was great, but on my 75-day challenge, this weekend was tough, tough, tough. Even though it was just us at home and I was preparing all the food and I was, doing all those pieces, this challenge is about so much more than the food. When I started this, today was day 49. When I started this challenge 49 days ago, it really was about getting myself back into physical health. I had, let myself sort of start to spin out of control. My weight was, I always kept myself. For the last 4.5 years, I've kept myself in a 5-pound weight range. I really, since I hit my goal, I had kept myself there and I had done really well. In the last few months before I started this, that number started to climb and life started to hit me, and everything that was going on in the world was really starting to affect me like it was everybody else. I don't feel like I'm any different in that. And that weight, that I started to see those old bad habits creeping in and those old bad habits starting to take hold again. And the scale was going the wrong direction, because that is a side effect for me when things start to go haywire, when the emotions start to control me instead of me controlling my emotions, all of those things. And that's a sure sign. And so back at the beginning of August, that's when I started this challenge, because I knew that I needed that physical piece. When I started this journey 4.5 years ago, I had no idea where this journey was going to take me. I had no idea that my life was going to change in so many ways, the way it's changed. And it started with the physical. It started that I needed to make a physical change in my life. I needed to get that under control, because that was something that I could handle. That was something that I could do. I can control the food that goes into my mouth. I can control what goes, those pieces. And that was the first piece that I needed to take a handle on. And again, this summer, in August, when I started this 75-day hard, that was the same thing. I knew I needed that, to grab onto that physical and take control of that, and let the emotional and let the mental and let all those other pieces come into play as I've gone through this. And it's really interesting, because as I started this process back at the beginning of August, it was the physical that was difficult. I had to break through some of those things. I had to re-break the sugar addiction. I had to get rid of the inflammation. It was that physical that was hard. And I broke through that. And it was smooth sailing for a little while. And then I felt really good. And then the mental came in, which is always the next step when you're doing this and you get that down pat and you're really working on changing yourself. When it first starts with a physical change, whether it's weight loss, no matter what it is, it starts with a physical change and then it goes to the mental change. And I started smooth and I got through that, and it hit the mental change, and it got really, really hard for a little while through that mental piece. And I kept pushing and I kept pushing and I kept working through it. I'm almost 2/3 of the way through this. Tomorrow is day 50, which is 2/3 of the way through this, through the 75 days. And part of the way through that, it didn't got to be smooth sailing. Okay, the physical was getting easy. I was really into easy. Not, it's never easy, but easy, sort of. It was getting easy. And the mental, again, I was sort of into this smooth sailing. I was sort of into this routine. I was sort of into where I was going. And then this weekend hit. And the food piece, it was only the 5 of us home. I was in preparation. I was controlling the food. But the combination of the food piece and the mental piece, it just hit me like a ton of bricks this weekend. All of it. And really, it made me stop and check and stop and say, okay, where am I? And I'll tell you, the physical crossing off, Xing off my things during the rest of this challenge has really been what's carried me through. But yesterday, I couldn't cross anything off because we don't write on the holiday. So I couldn't write yesterday. So even though I wasn't crossing those things off, that started very quickly letting me slip back. Well, what's the difference if I don't get it done? Very, very fast. And even today, I mean, I could cross them all off tonight, But the things that were going through my head, this challah, which by the way, I did not eat any of it, but this challah that's sitting here that I baked on Friday, it smelled so good. It looked so good. And it has been calling my name for 2 days. And this is the first time since I started this that's really even been tempting me. But I knew that if I started with it, even if I took a little small piece of it, I knew what that would do. It would spin me out of control. It would kick my sugars out of control. It would spike my blood sugar, and it would have made it much harder. But it was the mental game. It was the mental piece that was so hard for me this weekend. And that's what all of this is about. Like I said, when I started with this challenge started, it was a physical piece. It was a physical challenge. And now it's gotten into the mental challenge. And I've got a third of it left. Tomorrow is day 50. I've got a third of it left. And I know that that parts of it are going to get easy again. It will. But I also know that next week we have Yom Kippur, which is a fast day. A week from tomorrow. It starts a week from tonight. It starts, and that will be a piece of it. There will be another piece of the mental game. And then after that, we have Sukkot, which the first 2 days and the last 2 days are just like Rosh Hashanah. So and now that I've made it through this and I saw what was so difficult for me this weekend, I've got to come up with a plan. And that's what's so important when you are doing something and you see that something's going to throw a wrench in it, you need to come up with a plan. And so that's what I got to do. I've got to come up with my plan between now and Sukkot as to what am I going to do to make it easier for myself, to take myself through this, because I want to make this successful. I want to keep this successful. And it's not about the number on the scale. That's going to work. I know that. And I know that even if I have a rough day, which, that'll balance itself out. But it's the mindset. It's the mental piece. It's the mental growth that comes from all of this. And that's what's so important. That's what this challenge is all about. That's what my 75-day challenge is about for me is, like I said, it started with the physical, but even when it started with the physical, I knew that I needed to work on the mental. I knew that I needed to bring my head back into the game. I knew that I had to refocus myself as to what is really important. And so that's what I want to challenge you with tonight. What is really important? What do you want? Where do you want to be a week from now, 2 weeks from now, for me, 25 days from now, when I'm Xing off those last days on day 75? Where do I want to be? Not just physically, but mentally. If I don't lose another pound between now and then, that doesn't matter to me. It'll be nice if I do. It will mean that I'll be closer to my final goal, but I know that I'm going to get to my goal. That's not the problem. Where do I want to be up here? Where do I want to be mentally? How do I want to take myself forward? When I look back on these last 49 days, I can see so much growth in myself. 49 days ago when I started this, had we hit this weekend was really hard, really challenging. But I can tell you, this would not sit here without me touching it. There's no way I would have touched it. And the cake that was in the house and all the other stuff that was here that was sort of calling my name. Fortunately, the cake that was opened this weekend was a honey cake, and I don't like honey cake, so that didn't tempt me. But there's other stuff in the house. There's other good things that my kids have. But I had to take the mental game of what is important. Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? And it's not about the scale. It's about how I feel when I don't eat the right things. It's about how I feel when I don't keep a commitment to myself. It's not even about the physical, how I feel when I eat the wrong things, because I know I can clean that back up again. I've been doing this long enough. But it's how do I feel when I don't keep the commitment to myself? I made a commitment at the beginning of August to myself, and I made that commitment that I was going to stick to it. And that's what I'm doing. And so when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to be able to look back and say, okay, this was a really tough weekend. It was really hard mentally because we weren't doing all the things that we normally do on Rosh Hashanah. So I was home. I was home with the 3 kids, and we didn't really go. I mean, today we went out. We went to a community shofar blowing, which was amazing and so powerful. To really just be sitting there, it was really cool. We were sitting in a park in our neighborhood, and everybody was social distanced, and the rabbi was up in the, and sort of like there's this little hill in the middle, and to sit there and to listen to the shofar blow and to look around and see all the houses, and to know that there are people that may not have come out to join us, but are still hearing this, and this sound of renewal, and this sound of rebirth, and this sound of starting a new year. It was beautiful, and it was very touching to me, and it really made me think about, where do I want to be a year from now? When, God willing, we are able to be back in synagogues and listening to the shofar being blown next year. But the truth is, it was really nice sitting out there. I kind of hope that even if we're back at synagogues, that we can do that again next year out at the parks, because it was really nice, and allowing people who may not have normally had the ability to hear it, or the it was so nice to hear it. But where do I want to be? As I was listening to it blow, I was thinking to myself, where do I want to be personally a year from now? Where do I want to be with my kids? My kids keep asking about what's going to happen next school year. I have no idea what's going to happen next school year. I don't know what it's going to be. Right now, we're taking this school year, this year of all kinds of adventures, our homeschooling and getting ready to go to Florida and all those things and all the amazing things that if you had told me a year ago we'd be doing now, I would have told you were absolutely crazy. So where are we going to be a year from now? But it's not what's going to be happening in the world. It's sitting down and really envisioning, where do I want to be a year from now? Where do I want my family to be a year from now? Look, see the picture behind me. That picture was from basically a year ago last year, from Emma's bat mitzvah, which was at the very end of August last year, beginning of September last year. And if you had told me when we took that picture right there that we would be where we are today, I would have said you're sort of crazy. I would have said you were crazy. But now I know that we can create that. We can create that time. What do we want to be? Where do we want to be? What do we want to be doing? Madeline's bat mitzvah is supposed to be she turns bat mitzvah this spring. We won't be celebrating this spring, but maybe at the end of next summer, we'll be taking another picture like that, celebrating her. I don't know. But that's what I have to start to envision. That's what I have to start to picture, is what do we want? Where do we want to be? And the world is changing around us. I can't guarantee that we're going to be able to have a celebration the way we had for Emma's, but that's not in my control. What's happening with this pandemic, what's happening in the rest of the world, but I can control what we can create for myself, for my family, and what we want to do. And that's what I'm saying to you. Take this time. You're going to have tough days, just like I had a really tough weekend. But remember why you're here. Set really good goals. Figure out what you want and why you want it, and create your own chart. Or if you want to use my chart, if you are on my program, I highly recommend using my chart, because it's not just about the physical. This chart has taken me through the physical and through the mental and through all the steps and that challenge and that commitment to myself. And that's what's so important. Make a commitment to yourself and then stick to it through the hard. And when you need to lean into people for the hard, and I think that was part of my hard this weekend, was I didn't have people that I could lean into because we weren't seeing anybody. I couldn't really talk to anybody about it. So it's taking that, go through it, push through the hard. When you feel that block and it's hard, don't let that block push you back. Push through it, push forward and move forward. And you will feel so much better on the other side. I can't wait to see what happens over the next 25 days as I finish out the 75-day challenge. And I'm already starting to create in my head. This morning I was sitting down thinking through what's going to be my next 75 days after I've done this, after I'm finished with this, after I finish this out. How many of those things that are on my list are going to stay on my list for the next 75 days? And which ones do I want to change? Where do I want to push myself in a different way? Because it's going to be time for growth in a different way after 75 days of doing this. And some of these things are going to stay the same, and some of them aren't. And I'm excited for that. But I'm also excited to finish this out and to take it through and finish what I'm doing here, because I'm not done with this. My thinking through as to what's going to be the next 75 days is not my saying that I'm done with this, because I got 25 days left in this, and I got 25 days worth of growth left in this. So take it, push forward, create that life that you want. Start envisioning how you're going to do it. It's lead from the future and act in the now. But to lead from the future, you got to close your eyes and picture what you want that future to be. When I finish these 75 days, it's going to be right before we leave for Florida. Where do I want to be when we leave for Florida? And then those next 75 days, we're going to be well into our time in Florida. So what do I want that to look like? I can't envision exactly what it's going to look like, because what I think it's going to look like and what we're going to find when we get down there are going to be, I can guarantee, going to be two totally different things. But I can start to picture the things that I have control over and the things that I definitely want to see happen. So I hope that, that this is a wonderful, amazing new year for you, filled with blessing, filled with all good things and growth, and that you can start to also picture what it is that you want in your life, and you can move forward through it. Have a great evening. I'm going to sign off and finish up what I want to get taken care of tonight so that I can be in bed on time by my 11:30 bedtime. Have a great night, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Bye.